Hi everybody! So this week I wanted to kind of give you some insight as to what I've been doing the past couple months. So I'm going on tour in December, holiday tour. I'm going to 8 cities. I'm going to Atlanta, and then to LA, to Nashville, Phoenix, Chicago, Philadelphia, Indianapolis, and then New York. So there are tickets available. You can click the link in the description to go there now, and I hope to see you all out there. But I wanted to kind of show you how this is all happening because this is very new for me. And basically, how this all happened was I did the 25 Days of Christmas. For those of you who don't know, I did a new song every day in December leading up until Christmas for 4 years in a row, so starting, I think, my junior year of college. So I had all of these Christmas arrangements, basically trombone quartet Christmas arrangements, and they're ready to play. You know, some of them are not as good as others, but some of them are very good, and you can play them with 3 other musicians, and that's all you need. So I wanted to do a tour for years now, because the overhead is very low, and you don't have to pay for a sound person, you don't have to pay for a lighting designer, you don't have to pay for, you know, a big sound system. You can do it in churches, which is what I'm planning on doing. And you basically just show up and play. I hire 3 other musicians and we're good. So I had this idea a few years ago and it didn't pan out for multiple reasons. And then this year I decided to just kind of go for it. So many of you I'm sure know, a few months ago I sent out this thing saying I'm going on a tour in December, request tickets. Basically reserve your tickets if I come to your city. And that was basically to get an idea of where people wanted me to actually go, where people would actually buy tickets if I came. So I used that information, not only that information, but mostly to pick where I was going. So I saw the top, I don't know, 15, and then I picked 8, depending on, you know, demand in general, also my connections in those places. So, for example, New York was not very high on the list, but I live here and I know people and I don't have to pay for flights or hotels to play here, so the overhead is slightly lower. Stuff like that. So I basically used my best judgment to figure that out. Then I decided I'm not going to tour with a group. I'm going to hire musicians everywhere I go. So on the one hand, I don't have to pay for flights and hotels for any of my musicians, but I do have to deal with 21 schedules rather than 3. So I started emailing, and I basically wanted to get the first call musicians I could get a hold of in every city. So I had picked the cities I was going to, which were the ones I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and I started contacting the people I knew there, saying either, you know, if it's somebody I really want to work with, you know, are you free? What's your schedule in December? Or, you know, are you free? What's your schedule? Also, who are the other people that I really need to be working with? And they all gave me, you know, the best people to work with, and they said, but they're super busy. These are, you know, the top call musicians. They're not going to be free in December. There's so much work in December. And so my way of getting around that was saying, when are you free? I will schedule it around you. So this is maybe a month and a half ago, and I had a calendar that was just like a serial killer. It was just like, this is the day that these people are free, and these people, like Chicago musicians, are free these days. And I basically had that all on a calendar and tried to figure out if there was a way I could make everything work. So once I did that, I figured out my schedule of where I will be, which places and when. And that had nothing to do with the obvious, like, East Coast to West Coast and back travel plan. It had everything to do with my musicians. So it's a little sporadic, but everybody's free because I worked around everybody's schedules. Unfortunately, at that point, I have to call the venues, and so I had never done this before. All of my work I've had for the past 4 years has been people calling me saying, would you play? And I say yes, and they pay me, and I go, and it's done. So I started calling churches and universities and again, the contacts I had in these places, asking them. And I had At one point, I was getting about 60 emails a day from different places, because this is 8 cities, and I contacted as many as I could, probably 75 in each city, just to see what kind of rates I could get and different things. Because some, like, there's giant churches in LA that, you know, hire out for filming and stuff, and they're, you know, $8,000 for the day, and there are places that don't have, you know, seats. You have to bring your own chairs that are, you know, $100 for the day. So I had to figure out what my needs were and also what I could afford. I don't know what I could afford because I've never done this before. So going through all of that and basically saying, here's when my musicians are free, here's when we'll be there to do concerts, when and if this venue is free, we'll do it. So that was crazy. Somehow we're done with that part of the process after never doing it before. I've picked places, for better or for worse. Some are a little bit on the cheaper side and not as good, and some are a little bit on the expensive side and way more than what we need, but either way, we'll make them work. And then I started getting contacted by different professional groups like the Atlanta Trombone Ensemble and the Philadelphia Trombone Day. It's like Tuba Christmas, but for trombones in Philadelphia, and they wanted to collaborate on this thing. And so I started thinking maybe I can get these different openers for each city, and so I started contacting like Bones Southwest for Phoenix, and Skinny Lips and the Sound Malfunction for LA, and of course Paul the Trombonist is going to come in for LA, and you know, different ones all over, the Indie Trombone Choir in Indianapolis. So I started contacting these things to try to make it a bigger event, just because I'm already doing it, right? So a lot of positive feedback there, and then, man, there's just so much that goes into it that you don't think of, and I have not yet gotten to, in my life now, I have not yet gotten to the part where you actually focus on the music. I have a rehearsal, I think, next week with the New York and Philadelphia quartets, and so, yeah, I haven't even gotten there yet. Right now, I have my musicians set, the venues set, the openers mostly set, the plane tickets are done, finally. I kind of know where I'm staying, and when and everything. I think I mostly have rehearsal schedules ironed out, and now it's down to, you know, solidifying the stuff that hasn't quite come into place yet. But I'm doing advertising now. That's another part that, like, you just don't have to deal with as a hired gun musician, which is what most instrumentalists are. You know, that's mostly what we deal with. Somebody's hired, you know, wants a brass quintet for a wedding. Somebody calls you and says, hey, do you want to play this gig? And you say yes, and you show up and you play and you get the check and you leave. So this has been such a crazy experience, and I was hoping I could do it with investors and different things, but I'm paying for everything myself. I don't know if I'm gonna make all of my money back on this. It's very possible I won't, but at this point I'm kind of just in it for the fun of it because it's happening. I already paid for everything, so, you know, whether or not I make that money back, it's kind of irrelevant until I get done with it. So I'm very excited to try it all out, but yeah, right now I'm dealing with advertising, so I made these cool ads for Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, hopefully to get word out to just the cities that I'm going to. So, I mean, even that's kind of interesting to hear about. You can target these ads to the specific cities, and I might as well, because I don't need somebody in Nebraska seeing this ad for a tour where I'm not going there. So I made it very specific to the cities where I'm going. I also targeted people who like the trombone, like brass music, like classical music. You know, it's not super specific, but it'll probably be instrumentalists, right? So instrumentalists who live in these cities, maybe they've heard of me and maybe they want to come out to these concerts. So that is the next step, is the advertising. And then once I feel a little bit more comfortable with this stuff, once I have these rehearsals next week and have the music nailed down and can email that out to all my musicians, then I will have some promotional materials for each gig. So I'll put out YouTube videos that say, you know, here's the lineup for the Atlanta gig, here's how that'll sound, here's stuff that the musicians have done, because some of the people I'm performing with are really, really well respected. Patrick Sheridan, tuba virtuoso, he is one of the co-authors of The Breathing Gym, so he'll be playing with me in Phoenix. I have two of the members of Maniacal 4, Matt and Nick. They'll be joining me maybe in Nashville, maybe in Chicago, maybe both. I have, you know, Alex Isles, Craig Gosnell, and James Miller, all in LA. That's going to be a crazy, crazy one. Of course, Paul the trombonist joining me there as well. That's a very exciting thing for me because I usually don't get to perform with other people, let alone a caliber of musician that is much more experienced and knows what they're doing. So that's all like kind of what I've been doing and why I got sick this week and couldn't do a video, because I've been so crazy with just trying to figure out how to do this stuff and do it at the same time. I hope this was interesting to hear about. I'll give you more updates on like my Instagram story and Snapchat and stuff. So if you're interested in this stuff, hop over there and I'll keep kind of keeping you in the know on these things. Also, if you do live in one of these cities or know somebody who might be interested, definitely send this out because, like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna make money, but at this point I don't really care because it's happening either way, and so we're just gonna have a lot of fun. I think that's all I'm saying because my voice is gonna give out. I'm almost not sick, so next week I'll have something better for you. But thank you for watching. I hope this was interesting. It's been a really crazy roller coaster, designing and planning and eventually performing an 8-city tour. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the logistics to be done and to actually get out there and perform. So thank you for watching. This is kind of my how-to. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week.